If you've done all of the manifesting tips and tricks and tools, and yet your bank balance never seems to change and your financial abundance still seems stuck, then I've got you, because we are deep in money magic, part 2 today. Welcome back. I'm Tahverlee, a high priestess, a witch, the founder of the Moon Temple Mystery School, a student of life, and truly an earth goddess who believes that when we look at abundance, we just need to look outside and around us to see how much abundance is always there. And I'm doing a series of these videos, these shows on specifically around money. And I'm going into 3 very important pillars, I'll call them, to actually creating a change to your current financial situation. And this is really important work, because if you've done any emergency magic, as I call it, or putting band-aids in place or manifested small amounts of money, you know that that isn't the long-term fix. And you might be like, well, why? I did this, or I'm doing this, or I'm working harder. I keep working harder. I keep putting more and more effort in, but my life doesn't seem to be any more financially abundant than it was before I put in more work. So I will tell you that the process that we're going through is in part in really diving into your money mindset. Today, we're going to be talking about part 2, which is your relationship to money. But if you haven't watched part 1 yet on creating an enchantable life, on how to do the deep subconscious work that are really the barriers to you achieving more abundance, if you haven't done that part, go do it. Don't skip that step. It's super important. And yes, rituals matter. And yes, your relationship to money matters, which I'm going to be covering today. And of course, taking inspired action or in spirit action, which will be part 3, is also important. This piece that's sandwiched between the big money mindset work and the inspired action is the juicy part. It's how to truly create a love affair with money. It's how to create a relationship that is based upon the energy that you give it. And we are all giving money energy, even if we don't realize it. The more we feel in lack, the more we feel stressed. Every time we open a bill that makes our body just contract, then we are creating a negative, energetic connection to money. And money is inherently a negative, or a neutral, I almost said negative, a neutral energy. It carries what we give it. So today, as we start talking about building a relationship with money, I suspect that if you've watched part 1 and you've done the work, you went through all those journals and contemplations, and you have brought in a practice of gratitude into your life, you might be feeling conflicted. You might see, well, wow, I was raised with all these beliefs about money, and I've explored how that's not true. I might now know why. I'm not making it right or wrong. It's just what I've learned. It's how I was born into this world, the opportunities I did or didn't have based upon the color of my skin, the geographical location, my gender. I've explored all of that, and I've been able to bring myself out of those old conditioning patterns. And yet I'm still not quite sure, can I create this open love affair with money to where it actually begins to come into my life in soft, sensual, smooth ways? I like to think of it as no cold hard cash here. Soft, sensual, loving money, honey is a very different energetic connection than cold hard cash. Just think of those two. Think of those words. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to explore your relationship with money, and I'm going to give you some very tactical, implementable tools that you can use right now today to improve your relationship with money. So let me first ask you, how do you treat money? Do you treat it like one of the most valuable resources that you have? Meaning, do you bypass pennies on the ground? Do you sit on it in your pocket? Do you never look at it? Do you think money is dirty? Is it something that isn't worthy of talking about, like your greatest love? Do you keep all this stuff about money hidden in the dark corners, and you ball it up in your purse and shove it in the pocket? Or you actually never keep money visible in your home because it is a reminder to you as ooch, maybe I should be using that money instead of looking at it. All of these things are a direct tie to your relationship to money. And when you start to shift that, and listen, I know that this can be hard. I know that what you're carrying in your body around money, if you haven't done any of the subconscious work, which again is in part 1, if you haven't done that, this is going to feel sticky for you right away. So I'm going to consider this an advanced level of work, because that part in part 1 is the most important part. That right there will change your entire life. It will change everything in which how you receive, why you receive it, the ways in which you feel it's even possible to create something different than your current experience. But the relationship with money is actually fun. When you start to explore, how can I be in more positive communion with money, it becomes fun. It's like, I have this new thing that I love. That might have felt stressful in the past, but I'm actually going to bolster it, and it's going to bolster me, because the relationship is a two-way street. So when I give kindness and positive energy towards it, it's going to give kindness and positive energy to me. And that can be super fun if you choose it to be. So let's start with paying bills, paying taxes, some of these harder topics to talk about. I'll give you an example. There is this really wise woman that I interviewed on my podcast years ago, and we were talking about, from an entrepreneurial perspective, how much money we give in taxes and how stressful that is for a lot of humans. And she gave me such a beautiful tip that I teach people all the time. I practice this. I believe it to be true, that when we look at the government as our business partner, that it then becomes a very different charge to the money. Now, depending on where you live, that might be very difficult to swallow. But depending on how you feel about even living in the U.S., that might be very difficult to swallow. But if you take the government out of it and you look at, wow, well, the people that work for the IRS, or the people that oversee taxes, the humans that implement the laws that have been formed, all of those humans also have families. And so they're supporting their families in doing a job that has been set out for them. Not only that, we can always do way better in the United States specifically, but our money goes towards supporting veterans, social services. They keep our roads, and this could be local, state, and federal, they keep our roads maintained. They provide services to us for us to live here. It provides infrastructure. And even if you disagree or agree with any of the politics or any of the infrastructure that is created for you, even if you disagree with all of it, if you can hold the idea that what you're paying is going towards creating better, then it creates a more positive flow. So that's one thing to kind of think about for taxes. In that same line with bills, very few people actually get bills in paper form anymore. Most of the time they come electronically, or you've set up auto pay, or you're using digital currencies. But I actually like to print out bills. I like to, whether it's a utilities company, a phone, cell phone, any service that I pay for, I like to actually honor that the person that created that bill or pressed the button on their report system to send those bills out, because there's still humans behind a lot of the systematized processes that bills are paid. I like to think of it as the humans that have done that to help provide this service to me that I'm paying for also have families, and this is their job. And so when I receive an invoice or a bill, I try not to think about the large conglomerates that are gaining financial gain. They probably are. But I also think of all the people that they employ in my communities and other communities. And that right there, to me, starts to shift the energy on how you feel about it. So the next time you get a bill, print it and write on there, thank you to the families that this company supports. Or find a word of gratitude. Thank you for allowing me to have electricity, to have this beautiful ring light in front of me so I can provide technology, or I can provide videos through technology. Whatever it may be, these are just two very small examples of how, when you start to reframe the fact that money wants to move. Money is meant to come in. Money is meant to go out. We put our votes out into the world by where we spend our money. in our communities, service providers, how we create in the world, all the things in which money moves in and out of our lives is a positive exchange, and it wants to move. And yes, of course, we want to take a piece of our money and put it aside and let it grow for us. It's like putting your money to work for you is investing it to grow on its own without you. That is also a part of it. But this relationship with money on how it goes out is something important to address. I know many of you feel like, well, all the money that comes in, it just immediately goes out. There's none left. Well, that's a topic for a different conversation. When you create a relationship with money, one of the important things to do is to know your money. Do a budget. Like, be very realistic. What money comes in a month? What money goes out? If you aren't satisfied with that, what can you cut? What can you change? If it's an earning capacity and you need to earn more, keep doing the work to create more opportunity to earn more. If you think that earning money at your job is the only way that you can create money, then go back and contemplate in other ways in which money can come in. That's an imagination process, being creative and creating more, because you are a creator. You are a creator. Specifically, or if you're here watching this channel or listening to me talk, then you know that you are a creator. So doing all of these different steps is super important in creating a relationship with money. But first you have to know the truth. Knowledge is power. Create a budget. Look at your financials. Lots of people talk about this in different spiritual communities and different financial and wealth coaches that I know, but have a date with money once per week. I actually have a date with money every morning. I review my financials and my money every morning as a way of just saying, thank you. I'm really grateful. No matter how much, how little, I'm really grateful. So review and know your money. Know what comes in, know what goes out. That's part of a relationship. You have to, if you think of a relationship with another human, you would get to know them inside and out before you embark on a relationship with them. So do that with money. Know it and be truthful with yourself. And if you're looking for additional resources, do whatever you need to do in your communities or find someone to help you create that if you desire. But know your money. Start shifting. So that's number one, know your money. Number two, shift your relationship with how you feel when money goes out. When it goes to pay for something else, shift that into a perspective and reframe it to who it's actually supporting. And if it's not something that you actually need and you want to bring that back in, make the change. Don't be afraid to make changes. Next, in creating a relationship with money, I invite you to consider setting up a money altar and getting used to looking at money, looking at what money represents to you. And there's 1,000 ways to create an altar, and I'm going to keep it super simple. To create a dedicated space that has physical money on it that you can look at, that you're not going to spend, that you're going to look at, and you're going to bring beauty into that dedicated space. It could be flowers. It could be anything that represents beauty, luxury, and abundance to you. Surround that money with beauty. Create a dedicated space for you to say, okay, money, okay, we might have had a rocky relationship up until now, but I choose for it to be different moving forward. So I'm going to dedicate this space and this time, whatever that might be in the period of a day, because if you're already doing a gratitude practice, then you should already have a ritual established to working with money. If not, start spending 10 minutes a day, writing out in what ways you are already abundant and what are you grateful for, and sit and gaze at money. Provide offerings in your altar space. This is, I promise you, a really good basis to start changing your energetic connection to money into that soft, sensual flow of money honey. Maybe it's your money honey altar. I like that. My money altar is actually there. I also have one upstairs, and it's beautiful. They're beautiful. And it is all, for me, just how I express gratitude. Just grateful. Just so grateful for the ways in which I bring money in and the ways in which I get to make a difference in the world by how I spend it. So that's the practice that I would like you to begin with today. Next, I want you to write a letter to money. I want you to write a love letter to money that outlines what you're grateful for, that acknowledges that you might not have held it in the highest of reverence in the past, but you will moving forward. I want you to use these words. I will dedicate time every day to loving you. My passion, purpose, and action will be wildly fulfilled. And I will no longer value my joy and my fun of life based solely upon you. I will fill that up myself and watch my bank account grow. So write a letter to money. Acknowledge where it's been bumpy. And if you've been doing a lot of this work, you can acknowledge what you're releasing about money, old beliefs, things that are actually not true, but you didn't know weren't true until you started to explore. Why did you think that about money in the first place? Where did that conditioning come from? Note that. Tell that to money. I'm not gonna hold that to be true anymore. I'm gonna bypass any upper limit that I or anyone else has ever put on me, and I'm gonna do that in partnership with you, money. So write a letter. And remember that abundance isn't just money. It's in many forms and ways. I also invite you, it can be on this altar or in this letter, to be grateful for your families, for the lineage at which got you here as a human, without judgment, without it being right or wrong in how you were conditioned or what you were led to believe about money, or the box you were put in, or the upper limits that were put on you. Release that and not carry that judgment. Just be grateful that it got you to where you are. And that place of gratitude immediately takes the charge out of the things like, well, I sure wish my family would have given me more or bought me more or shown me better lessons about money or even taught me about money or not been afraid to talk about money. All those things, instead release it and say, thank you for giving me the best that you knew how. I know differently. I'm going to act differently and choose differently from here on out. And of course, if you work with spirit guides, ancestors, gods, goddesses, any deities, if you have a relationship with them, call them in. Call them in at this stage now and ask them to help you build a better relationship with money. And it's always amazing to me how this particular piece of money doesn't often get included in the big rituals and spells that we do. We just ask for more. We just say, universe, God, Goddess, spirit guides, Jesus, bring me more money. I need more money. Or I'm stressed, I need money. As opposed to, can you help me heal the wounds and the belief systems that have kept me in the place that I'm in? So I actually can, in a long-term sustainable way, change and grow how I bring in abundance into my life. It's a complete game changer to switch to help me heal, help me release those beliefs, and open new opportunities for me to live my life's greatest purpose and support myself and my family and my communities with money. Whew. If you do a lot of regular rituals and spells around money, great. Don't stop them. Keep doing this work in between. And it is my sincerest desire that when you're casting any spells or doing any rituals with money, that you are casting them with very specific intentions that have dates and deadlines so you can measure their success. Because once you start doing this work, there will be a profound difference to the way you interact with money. And if you haven't done any spells or rituals specifically for money, then join me in the Spellbinders Club. Link is in this video notes. And make sure you subscribe to this channel because I'm going to be here talking way more about these important topics that are tangible and applicable in our real human existence. Even if they are esoteric and spiritual in nature, we bring them into reality. And here's the other thing. A lot of the work we're going to do in Spellbinders Club, and definitely a lot of work we do in Moon Temple Mystery School, is to remember that we are here in service. And so acknowledging where we're abundant and giving more when we can, however we can, whether it's our time, our resources, our love, and our support to our friends, family, community, and the world at large, when we hold that higher level goal of making a positive change in the world, I promise you that is an extra, it's like the turbo boost at a car, that little button you can press. I don't know if they can still do that. I know you used to be able to do that. You can press a boost button in your car and it makes you go faster. Holding the highest good in this world with your work alongside everything else that you also do for yourself and your family is like a turbo boost to everything that you desire. So subscribe, follow me in all the places, visit me at moontempleschool.com for more ways to get involved, especially if you want specific customized spells and rituals. All those things are done in Spellbinders Club, and I will see you soon for part 3.